Okay, I think we can get started. Welcome back, everyone. Hope you had a great time at the event and learned some interesting STEM skills that you'd like to pursue further on. For our closing keynote session, we have NetApp's Senior Vice President of Worldwide Services and Support, Sheila Rohra. Sheila leads a $2 billion plus business providing strategic services and customer support to some of the largest companies in the world. Her team owns the customer experience from end to end and delivers innovation at every turn. In her current role, just over a year, Sheila has grown the business from single digit to 18% year over year growth. She is an executive sponsor for Luna, the Latinos Anaides Employee Infinity Group at NetApp, and she has also previously sponsored the Women in Technology Group at NetApp. Sheila is incredibly passionate about diversity, inclusion, and belonging based on her experience growing up, leading teams, mentoring girls your age, and managing her own career. She is a lovely mother of three teenagers. So please put your hands together and welcome our keynote speaker, Sheila Rohra. Sheila, please go ahead and address kids.
Thank you, Pooja, for the warm introduction. And as she mentioned, I do have three teenagers, and two of them are daughters. So it's been quite interesting having conversations with them around STEM. So as Pooja mentioned, I lead a large business within a large technology company. And I report directly to the president of the company, and I'm one of two female senior vice presidents in a technical role. So you're probably wondering, can that be intimidating, scary, out of place? Well, it could be if you let it get to you, but I'll tell you why it's not and why it's so important for young women like you to be in these critical jobs that we refer to as STEM jobs. So, STEM careers, as we call them, are jobs in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and can include roles like computer programmers, statisticians, pilot, technical writer, astronaut, chemist, mathematicians, electrical engineer like myself. And we need women in these fields. And here is why it's important for us as a society that young women take the STEM role. So just gonna just kind of digress just a little bit. So I don't know. I mean, you're probably young, but you probably heard are men, men from Mars, women from Venus. But are men really from Mars? Well, I'm not sure about Mars, but I do believe women and men are equal, but yet uniquely different. And one of the ways we're different in the way women and men approach is problem solving. And this can be really different and ultimately lead to the problem being solved or not. So why is this important in my role in service and support? Look, we have to fix customer problems all day long, and sometimes even during the weekend. And we have a mix of men and women on a problem-solving team that lead to greater and better solutions for our customers. Medical research and facts have shown that women and men brain function differently, and that difference can be a huge advantage in a diverse problem-solving team. It's not that one gender's brain is better than the other. It's that together they can achieve the best results. In a study performed by Harvard years ago, this is back in 2001, it was shown that although the woman's brain is slightly smaller in mass and they have neurons that are more packly tight, allowing for quicker decision making and multitasking. And more importantly, it showed that the part of the brain that is responsible for problem solving and decision making, called the frontal lobe, is actually larger in women. This augmented with the fact that women can tap more readily into the right side of the brain, which is responsible for the creative thinking process, makes them heroes in my book for effective and efficient problem solving. So also keep in mind that women are more often open to communication, discussions than the male counterpart. And this means they are usually talking through the problem, they're learning more about the problem, discussing the situation in detail and how it could be solved. And after all, the means to the solution is oftentimes as important as the solution itself. So it doesn't mean that we all replace men in these roles. It means that we need diversity. And after all, as Aristotle, our Greek Once a Greek philosopher once said, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And the whole is a diversity. And you hear a lot about diversity today. Diversity is key to the best solution. Many perspectives, experiences, backgrounds coming together with different ideas to address and solve a problem. And here is a well-told story, and it's actually one of my favorites, and it spotlights the need for diversity in the workplace. So several years ago, Pacific Power and Light, known as PPL, was faced with solving an ongoing problem that resulted in both an undesirable and unsafe job situation for the PPL linemen. So in the Pacific Northwest, there are a number of ice storms in the fall and spring, and these storms result in the accumulation of a significant amount of ice load accumulating on the power transmission lines. And if they're not removed, this ice will accumulate to the point that the lines will be overstressed and eventually break. And the method used to remove the ice was to send linemen out to the field and have them climb up the icy poles and towers and shake the lines along with the long poles hooked at one end. The linemen hated this job because it meant they would have to go into the woods, climb the poles and towers, and shake the lines under extremely unpleasant conditions. And a number of them were hurt when they fell down from the icy poles and towers. PPL had in the past conducted a number of brainstorming sessions with no positive results. Then they turned to a professional consultant to organize yet another session. He suggested that a diverse group be assembled to look at this problem. Rather than assembling just linemen and their supervisors, the resource insisted that people with a huge variety of job functions be convened to look for a more creative way to get the ice off the power lines. And in this brainstorming session that followed were linemen, supervisors, accountants, secretaries, and people from the mailroom. Several hours into the meeting, the professional resources were beginning to become more concerned about this effort would be unproductive as the previous ones. Then during one of the coffee breaks, he overheard an informal conversation between two linemen. "I hope we can finally figure out a better way to skin this cat," said one. "I really hate this job. Why, just last week I was coming down from a pole, and when I hit the ground, I was looking eye to eye at one of the biggest, meanest black bears I've ever seen. And that bear apparently was not happy that I had invaded his territory and chased me for well over a mile before he was satisfied that I would not return." So trying to stimulate the group, the resource retold this tale to the rest of the session. And an idea came up. Why don't we train the bears to climb the poles? They are so big, so heavy, and that their weight would probably be enough to shake the wires and knock the ice off, quipped one of the linemen. And after the laughter died down, the group thought of hundreds of reasons why that was a silly idea. Some of the comments referred to the character or parentage of the person suggesting the idea and will not be repeated here. Then another of the linemen suggested that although training the bears seemed foolish, perhaps by placing honeypots on top of the poles, the bears could naturally climb the poles and get to the honey, and in the process shake the poles sufficiently to knock the ice off the lines. So there was another period of laughter, following one more objection generally centered around the fact that the bears might choose to empty the honey pots in fair and not foul weather. One of the more senior, more sarcastic linemen says, "Well, you know, all those fancy helicopters those fat cats in the front office fly around in all the time. Why don't we just grab one of those and fly them from pole to pole, placing the honey pots on top right after the ice storm? That way the honey will be there when we need it. And besides, it will do those fat executives some good to walk for a change." So again, there was another round of laughter, followed several ideas. Then finally, one of the secretaries that I mentioned that was invited spoke for the first time. And she said, "You know, I was a nurse's aide in Vietnam, and I saw many injured soldiers arrive at the field hospital by helicopter. The downwash from the helicopter blades was amazing, and dust would fly everywhere. It was almost blinding. And I wonder if we just flew that helicopter over the power lines at low altitude, would wash down from those blades be sufficient to shake the lines and knock the ice off. This time, there was no laughter, just silence. She had come up with an answer. By valuing diversity and by encouraging divergent thinking, the resource had enabled the group to come up with a possible solution to a problem all wanted to solve. By the way, ever since that meeting, PPL uses helicopters to fly over the power transmission lines after ice storms. It works beautifully. Linemen are no longer required to climb up ice after covered in poles to shake the lines. So the brainstorming session was a success. But remember, if they hadn't found the bear, they may have never found the helicopter. But this wasn't the first time a woman came up with a genius idea or an advanced industry. Take a look at the car industry. Most think of this as a man's area, that men influence design, features, and functions of the cars we drive. I'll be the first to say that we need more, as there are some things that I'd like to personally change in my car. But look how women have shaped the automobile industry over the years. When it comes to history of cars, people tend to think of Henry Ford, Carl Benz, Walter Chrysler, Horace Dodge, or other men whose names are behind the most recognizable car brands on the market today. However, it's often overlooked that many of the car features that we use and enjoy today were in fact invented by women. And in addition to inventions, there are countless other ways women have influenced the car industry. Here are 9 ways how women have shaped the car industry that we know today. GPS and Wi-Fi. If you ever plugged an address into your smartphone or connected to your Wi-Fi enabled car, you can thank Hedy Lamarr for inventing the technology behind it. Yes, a female film star designed the wireless transmission technology that made GPS and Wi-Fi possible. Executive decisions. In 2014, Mary Barra became the CEO of General Motors, making her the first woman to ever lead a major auto company. She took the job amid GM's ignition switch scandal and pulled the company into a strong comeback. She's now looking to GM's future, which will include rolling out more electric cars and breaking into the autonomous vehicle market, in addition to the company's regular cars and trucks. Non-reflective glass. Thanks to the scientist and inventor, Catherine Blodgett, windshield glass doesn't have a glare, making vehicles much safer. After earning a PhD in physics at Cambridge, Blodgett became the first woman hired by General Electric. While there, she invented a way to make glass surfaces non-reflective. Her technology was used for camera lenses, movie projectors, submarine periscopes, eyeglasses, computer screens, and of course, windshields. Supercar designs. Most of the time, when women have a hand in designing cars, it has to do with interior features. It's not often that women design the exterior vehicle, let alone a supercar. Michelle Christensen is the first woman to lead a supercar exterior design team. The Acura NSX has been in the works for years, but was released as part of Acura's 2017 lineup. Brake pads. Not only did Bertha Benz take the first long distance road in a car, she also invented the brake pads. If the name Benz sounds familiar, it's because Bertha's husband, Carl Benz, invented the first patented automobile. This later led to the creation of the Mercedes automobile in the Mercedes-Benz brand name. Bertha helped promote the car, or motor wagon, as it was called then, by undertaking a 66-mile journey with her sons to her mother's house. Along the trip, she realized that her brake pads needed help to operate to their full potential. Car heaters. Next time you crank the heat in your car, remember to thank Margaret Wilcox. Margaret was a mechanical engineer who invented the first car heater in 1893. The design used an opening from the engine that released hot air into the cab of a vehicle. It wasn't perfect, and it isn't the same design that we use today. However, she came up with the basic system on which modern car heaters are based. Windshield wipers. After taking a trip to New York City and witnessing trolley drivers stopping to get out and clear snow or rain from the windows, Mary Anderson knew there had to be a better way. Her design used a manual lever that operated a wiper from inside the car. Turn signals. Florence Lawrence is best known as a first movie star. You probably didn't know she also created the technology for the first turn signal in the vehicles. Her design was for a mechanical signaling arm that indicated the direction you were turning and was operating with a button inside the vehicle. She also made a stop sign that would activate when the brakes were pressed. Sadly, she never got a patent for her design, and the idea was quickly snatched by others in the industry, leaving her without any credit or compensation. Interestingly, though, Florence's mother was also an inventor. She patented the first electric windshield wipers in 1917, but sadly did not receive much recognition as the idea was copied by others. Purchasing decisions. Sorry about that. Purchasing decisions, the automotive industry may be seen as a man's world, but given that 95% of the National Automobile Dealers Association members are men, however, women purchase 52% of the cars sold and influence 85% of all car buying decisions. According to Maddie Dagwald, author of Influence, How Women's Economic Power Will Transform Our World for the Better, 74% of the women still feel like their automobile needs are misunderstood by marketers. And that's a pretty important statistics, considering women are also the fastest growing segment of buyers of new and used cars. So young women your age are already making a difference in STEM fields, and often not because they're set out to be, not often because they have originally set out to be. They're curious. We are problem solvers. We're thoughtful. We are peacemakers, and we want to make things better. Kylie Simons, an 8-year-old back then, designed a backpack that let kids feel stylish while they were undergoing chemotherapy. And Kylie went to the doctors complaining of a sore throat. And in 3 years that followed, she received a cancer diagnosis, underwent chemotherapy, and emerged as a survivor. And she invented a backpack that gives kids like her an alternative to a clunky, ugly IV poles. The young inventor, now 13, has set up a GoFundMe campaign to bring the backpack, which she calls iPack, to life. The prototype features stabilizing internal rods, a pump, a controller, and a coil to hold the medicine bag. And Kylie received a patent in 2014 for the innovative design after attending the Yukon Invention Convention and winning the patent award, the highest prize available. Can you imagine? She was only 13. Paige Brown developed a cheap and effective method for cleaning polluted streams. She, in the Intel Science Talent Search, Martin, a 17-year-old native of Bangor, Mel, created a device that captures phosphorus from water. She spent just $3 on materials and managed to extract more phosphorus than would ever conceivably enter a water supply. She tells Tech Insider that this device is made up of few parts, clumps of gel extracted from seaweed known as alginate, which are stuffed inside a claw hair clip and a block of foam. The invention earned Martin the Global Good Prize and $150,000 in college tuition at this year's Intel Science Talent Search. This overwhelming success of the device has inspired her to pursue further research into the purification systems. Maria Elena Grimmett used recyclable plastic beads to filter a harmful antibiotic out of water. 5 years after Grimmett, who is now 16, noticed her family's water had a slight brownish hue, and she won the 2015 Siemens competition in math and science and technology for her innovative method for purifying water. And according to this young inventor, tiny pieces of resin in the form of plastic beads can filter out an antibiotic called sulfamethicin, which is traditionally used by veterinarians on cows and pigs and is commonly found in water supplies in rural areas. Grimmett's work was published in the Journal of Environmental Quality in 2013, and she was just 14 years old, the youngest to publish in that journal. Olivia Hallisey discovered a cheap and effective way to screen for Ebola. Last September, The 16-year-old won the 2015 Google Science Fair for her method of Ebola detection, which she says works in less than 30 minutes. HALIC's test mixes specific chemicals with the person's blood sample, which changes color if the chemical reacts to key protein of the Ebola virus. Her method is even more innovative because the chemical mixture is capable of preserving the sample without any kind of refrigeration. This test is therefore much less expensive than the current alternatives, which can take up to 12 hours to yield results, and more easily transportable to rural, low-income areas that lack electricity. Lalita Prasida Shripada Shrisai created a water filtration system using corn cobs. Can you believe it? Corn cobs. In the same way as Brita filter takes foreign particles out of your water, Shrisai's contraption uses corn cobs to purify the unclean drinking water found in many parts of the world. She first got the idea after taking long walks in her home country of India, where armfuls of dry corn cobs could be seen lying on the side of the road. She began testing her methods in 2011 when she was only 11 years old. Shrisai believes she could market the device to farmers as a low-cost way to stay healthy. The corn cob filter removes 80% of the contaminants, including detergents, oils, and other particulates. The average Brita filter removes 99%, and Shrisai's invention won the Scientific Americans Community Impact Award at last year's Google Science Fair. Celestine Winardi developed affordable, non-invasive, continuous blood glucose concentration monitor via infirmetry and thermal technology. Her project utilizes thermal technology and interferometry in order to interpolate blood glucose concentration values. This prototype is relatively less costly at $63 per unit in comparison to over $5,000 for some non-invasive modules in testing, but still remains accurate within a R-squared value of 0.843. That's just phenomenal. And Brooke Martin created a way to dispense medication remotely for elderly loved ones. What started as a novel way to video chat with your pet and remotely giving them treats, a device Martin called IC Pooch, ultimately turned into a more serious venture now known as IC Loved Ones. Relatives can use a device to ensure their relatives can use this device to ensure their family members remember to take the prescribed medicine on time, every time. Martin, now 16, has enabled the device with Wi-Fi so it can connect to the internet. When far away, relatives want to dispense a medicine, they can open the IC Loved Ones smartphones app and release a proper dosage into a small dish. So similar to the design for pets, users can attach a phone or tablet to the dispenser and program it automatically to begin video chatting when a call is made. Martin hopes the device can unite family members across the world. So, basically I have recited, I have actually shared many examples how women has done very innovative things and how they have in many cases changed the world. And I just want to leave this thought is, first of all, don't ever underestimate yourself, right? I mean, you got to think above and beyond, you got to challenge yourself. Keep in mind that you can be anything. You can be an engineer, you can be an astronaut, you can be a physicist, you can be a doctor. I mean, many were doubtful that I could even become an electrical engineer back when I was 18, and now look, I'm a senior vice president of a technical role. Just keep in mind, we can do anything and be anything at any time of our lives. Thank you.
We are open for questions now. Do we have some questions for Sheila coming up?
I see one Pooja says, what is a cartographer?
What's a what?
Cartographer.
Oh, sorry.
C-A-R-T-O. I don't know if that was something you said.
A cartographer.
Cartographer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is actually a medical device that actually looks at vital signs.
Got it.
Okay, do we have some more questions coming up?
There is one question, I think it's a question and a comment. Do you know about the 14-year-old San Francisco girl who may have found a solution to corona?
I did actually hear about that story. That's actually amazing.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So what's the question?
That was the question. Did you hear about it?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Yes, I did hear about that.
We're getting lots of comments on this. Said they loved your talk. They think it's great. This is so amazing. Thanks, Sheila. Awesome. Lots of comments like that. So motivating. Women are awesome.
They are. We are. Oh, we are. In fact, you know, I wanted to share a personal story, right? You know, if it's okay. Look, you know, I had a lot of, when I was deciding to become an electrical engineer, you know, it was kind of looked down. They're like, oh, you know, that's for nerds and all that other stuff. And you know, some people, even some of my family members even said, oh, we don't think you can become an electrical engineer. It's not for girls. But, you know, despite of all that, you know, I just had a passion for math and science. And I believed in my heart that, you know, I will be successful. And I just want to share with you that, you know, you have to go after what you're passionate about, right? And if actually pursuing one of these STEM-like careers is like what you're passionate about, stick to that. You know, a career is not just about, you know, a profession that makes money. It's a living. You'll spend more, about 50% or more of your life doing this, right? And I have 2 teenage girls. You know, I have 3 children, but I have 2 teenage girls. And, you know, I asked them, hey, you know, what do you think about doing? She goes, well, we want to go into medicine. And I said, hey, why did you consider doing engineering like me? No, because it seems too hard. I go, no. I said, what makes you think it's hard? So then, you know, we had conversations and we're talking about it. And, you know, my girls, they love math. They love physics. And they actually also love biology as well. And then after, you know, several months of conversations, both my daughters decide to go into bioengineering, you know. And, you know, it's, you know, and it's that thing, it's about conversations. And I really, really, really encourage you young women to have conversations, have like very open conversations, whether it's your mother, whether it's your sibling, whether it's a friend, you know, cousin, family members, right? Have these conversations. You just never know, right? And, you know, my daughters for years thought that the doctor or like, you know, was the right field for them, but now they're super passionate about bioengineering. They're just loving to explore that now. So I just wanted to share that.
I think we have another question out. Is there a specific site to find girls like the one you showed?
There's specific about the girls I showed. I can send it out to you. Yes, there is. Yep.
Sure, we will share it out with you guys. Okay. Do you have more questions coming up, or are there any questions that we need to answer that came in earlier?
Just myself off mute. No, I think, Pooja, I think we got them from, I'm scrolling back to the earlier. I think we got them.
Okay. Okay, then we are almost at the end of our great
It's been a long day, I'm sure. It's a long day.
It is. We would like to thank Sheila for sharing some of her insightful, interesting stories about diversity, women innovators, and how so many women across different age groups, background, played a crucial role in developing innovative products. So I hope you all are inspired to hear from Sheila and really thinking about what careers that you can pick in STEM. We are always here to now if you need any resources that Sheila shared or Renu shared or anything that you want to ask us that was shared during this event, please feel free to reach us out at ngywitquestions.com, right? And we would like to thank you all for taking some time off from your school. I know you all missed the school today, but thanks again for taking some time off and attending this event and making it a great success. And thank you and have a great day.
Thanks. Have a nice weekend, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Sheila. Have a great weekend.
Thanks.
Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
This was great.
This was great.
Have a great weekend, guys.